Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza in downtown Bethlehem on Independence Day, 250 years celebration here today. Yesterday, we didn't quite top 100. We got to 99 yesterday, only about 97 today. There's about a heat index of 106 yesterday, but we had some storms roll through and some rainbows at the end here. Thought we'd have sunny here, all kinds of stuff here. We've been out for a couple weeks here, but 4th of July weekend, how those sales are trending, El Nino, drought, wildfires, dust, hurricanes, you name it, we'll cover it here today. So a lot to cover. So again, just look at the 3-day weekend here. So this is Friday, Saturday, Sunday here. Again, so we're using our Power of 1 degree technology to quantify the sales lift based on this weather. So again, it's the hottest in 14 years nationally, number one hottest in probably 40 plus years in the eastern U.S. Hot days up 30% versus last year, most in 6 years. Again, that heat is really concentrated here in our area here in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic. So our Northeast AC favorability index is this 48.8%, meaning about a 50% increase in year-over-year sales, strongest in 24 years. So we see the top categories here on the right here: AC fans, sprinklers, water sports, pool chemicals, you name it, things that we need to stay cool. Obviously, frozen beverages versus jeans. Yep, you're not going to buy those right now. Fishing gear suppressed a little bit because it's also the wettest, most in 4 years, 30% wetter than last year. So stormy, not ideal for obviously being out and about fishing. So again, that's how we quantify seasonal sales here. Thought we talk El Nino here because it's rapidly developing here. So that all that warm water in the equatorial Pacific. Again, chart left here is trends versus last year, and chart right map here shows the trends versus average. So again, rapidly building. You can see, go back to 9 November here. Again, we were way below normal in the midst of a La Nina, cold equatorial Pacific. And then we look today, it's just off the scale. Plus 6C below the surface there, and we already got some plus 3Cs percolating to the surface of the, again, this is a cross section across the equatorial Pacific going from Australia, Ecuador. So again, you're looking several hundred meters below the surface here. What's interesting here is you can actually see maybe La Nina. You can start to see these patterns out off central Australia, international date line, see that below normal water temperatures. Those will traverse east, and again, takes probably at least a year to do that, but again, starting to see signs that this epic El Nino could be a La Nina as we talk late 2027. Look at the model guidance here. Again, all have them in the near historic category here, peaking this fall and then still staying in the strong category as we go through winter. So again, it'll be a near historic event. And again, we can look at that. Again, this looks like to be a 2015, 2016 when we got up about 2.5 Celsius above average water temperatures there in the equatorial Pacific. And this looks like it'll top that. So we're talking about an event that might rival the 1877, 1878 super El Nino of all time. One thing that's common in this early phase of this is wildfires, and so we're the most in 5 years, 78% above last year in terms of the 3.2 million acres burned here. We have about 36,595 active fires, which is the most in 10 years. So this will be a theme here, unfortunately, through the summer, fall in the west, because their rains won't kick in and probably till late fall, winter for them. Drought, starting to make some improvement here. We peaked at 80% of the country in dry to drought phases 1 April. What's interesting here is most of the corn belt's escaping this. So from Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Good news where our crops are. Again, conditions are pretty good here. So again, it's still at 67%. That's 21% above average, most in 4 years. But again, starting to see some improvement here in the drought situation. Hurricanes under El Nino with not only the wind shear that's created by El Nino, it tends to suppress activity. We've had this weak, hard borderline storm here. Hard to call Arthur a storm, but we did. NOAA called it officially a storm here. So again, mostly inland, hard to have a system develop over land, but it did. So again, suspect storm here, but net is a very slow start to the season. Part of that's just dust coming off Sahara Africa here. It's common this time of year, but it's concentrated here in the Southeast Caribbean, so that will suppress hurricane activity. It certainly will suppress any major hurricane activity here the next couple of weeks. So again, a slow start for the hurricane season. Look at last week, World Summer here, made a wholesale change. Unbelievable how we went from the end of June was the coldest in 22 years in the U.S. For that late Father's Day period. This year, wholesale change. 1.3 hotter than last year, number one hottest in 41 years, so obviously much above average temperatures nationally. Hot 90-year days up 36%, most in 9 years, second most in 41 years, and dry 32% less, driest in 14 years. So hot, dry, certainly buying, again, all those hot seasonal categories. UK, Europe, again, obviously UK is a little bit cooler, but Europe was number one warmest. Again, it was shifting more toward the Eastern Europe after scorching France here. So France got a little bit of a cool down here. That won't be the case here. They're going to get another big warm surge here. Pretty warm down under in Australia, #1 hottest in 41 years. That has their flu season suppressed. I think they're down about 65% versus last year in terms of flu cases. So warm weather is good for suppressing that flu activity, and that's maybe a bellwether of our season ahead here. Look at severe weather here this past week. We added about 31 tornadoes, 213 hail events, 1,067 wind events. So that was pretty historic, again, adding that many wind cases here. Again, we had some of that here, even here in outside 360's headquarters here yesterday. Looking at this week here, we're in second week of July here. A little bit of a moderating trend. In fact, this may be overdone a bit in terms of temperatures. The models are hinting at the cooler pattern in the east, northeast. Overall, the U.S., though, 0.3 warmer than last year, 4th warmest in 41 years. That heat is starting to shift more toward the west. Hot 90-degree days, however, down 15%, least in 5 years, still 16th most. But again, those really, really hot days are dramatically suppressing here after this cold front sweeps off the East Coast here Sunday night. Rainfall up 18%, wettest in 5 years, 8th, wettest in 40 years, very stormy. Look at all that rain here. We'll take it here in the east. 3, 4, 5 plus inches of rain in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York City areas. Again, we'll take it. We desperately need the rain. So this will put a big dent in the drought, hopefully. Look at the severe weather here this next few days here. Again, concentrated here again as that front begins to move through this extreme heat. You can have some supercell thunderstorms like we had last night here. So again, the mid-Atlantic, northeast, and then that'll active will kind of suppress here as we get into the early next week. Look at next week here, again, the third week of July here, about 2 degrees warmer than last year, warmest in 7 years, second warmest in 40 years. We'll see about this heat dome. Again, I think it's going to be shifted more toward the north-central U.S., maybe even into the Pacific Northwest, but again, it'll be that part of the country. I think the east is overdone here in terms of slightly above average temperatures. I think it'll be a little bit cooler than suggested. Certainly cooler if you look at map inset left than last year, so cooler along the eastern third of the country. Hot 90-degree days, up about 15%. Again, those are going to be shifting more toward the west and central U.S. And rainfall way down. We'll see about that. Down 45%. Driest in 31 years. So again, the real high demand for maybe seasonal categories will shift more to the Pacific Northwest and central U.S. Look at the world 2-week temperature outlook. And now again, we're aggregating hots and colds and cools. But again, you see the heat removing back into France and Spain and central Europe there. So again, they're going to get another 100+ degree temperatures, which is pretty crazy hot for France. U.S., again, that heat is really concentrated in the central U.S. and cooler trends along the East Coast. Now, again, this big map's trends versus last year. Map inset left or trends versus average. Rainfall, again, the theme is ample rainfall, again, for the eastern third of the country. Again, dry in the south Gulf Coast areas and very, very dry across Europe and Australia. So, folks, don't forget you can get this blog video in your inbox every Saturday afternoon. Just go to weather360.com/newsletter/captains-log/subscribe. It's free. And again, you'll get it as soon as we issue it. So have a great week ahead.